So, I just finished playing Silent Hill 2 Remake, and let me tell you, that game deserves Game of the Year. Now, before you come in the comments and start saying,
"Oh my gosh, who is this little random little teenager thinking like he knows how like the gaming industry works? Like you don't know what type of games deserve Game of the Year. Like shut up, nobody cares about your opinion."
okay, listen. I'm just speaking from my heart, and let me tell you, there's a lot of things about this game that I think truly deserves the award. And I will say there are a lot of other games that were released this year that I also think deserve Game of the Year. But Silent Hill 2 Remake has like blown like my expectation. For like any psychological horror game, I feel like with the amount of time and detail they put into like even like the smallest things, like how the monsters, like the blood effects and all that was just mind-blowing. The storyline for this game is just wow, you know. They've done a lot more compared to the OG Silent Hill 2, and how they were able to bring like the characters' emotions. Like for James, for example, James actor really like showed that like character with his expressions and like the tone of voice that he talked with certain lines. Like it truly felt like it was real, you know, compared to like obviously like the first, you know, Silent Hill 2. The voice acting was pretty funny, I will say.
Who's Rachel?
She was our nurse.
This town is full of monsters. How can you sit there and eat pizza?
Like it doesn't have that same like feel, but I feel like that game on its own is like completely different from the remake, but not really, you know. With the other characters, for example, like Angela, her character is like, it's so depressing with how they did with the OG compared to the remake, especially with the boss battles with Abstract Daddy. It really makes you like realize certain parts in the boss fight where you get to go into certain like rooms where Angela would hide from her father. I'm at a loss for words for this game. Like it's just one of those games where you really just have to play it to truly understand like the beauty of it. And you might be like,
Oh my god, this guy's glazing it. You're glazing it.
like, okay, but like in all seriousness though, like the way like everything was just executed with Angela's like character and like the boss fights, as well with like Pyramid Head for James, the first boss fight, very similar to the first one. Literally just walk around, you know, the fighting area, and Pyramid Head will just eventually get tired of James because he's like running away from him instead of facing judgment of his, you know, sins. Even the boss battles were slightly different from each other. It's just they added more things where a lot of players can like, you know, make their own theories about certain stuff. And the puzzles, of course. That one annoying puzzle where you had to like unlock 3 different combinations just to find a box with just nothing. And I've seen some really interesting like theories about that. The puzzles were so tedious in this game. I will say they were very tedious. It took me about like an hour or so to finish like just one certain puzzle, and I will not lie, I may have used a guide for some of them. But listen, I will say this is like one of the first Silent Hill games I've ever played. I've never played any Silent Hill game, or like I haven't really been much of a horror, like I don't really play many horror games. Only horror games I've ever played is like Resident Evil 3 and 4. I've also played Outlast 2, but that was when I was a kid, and that is probably not a great game to play as a kid because I probably got nightmares from that game for sure. Silent Hill 2, it's not scary, but it is like the atmosphere can really make you feel like some type of way, and I feel like Bloober did an amazing job like depicting that with like even like the faint noises that you would hear in like Brookhaven Hospital. That one part in the apartments, I think it was room 209, 202. I have no idea. I don't even remember. Tell me why I heard like a guy like whispering in my ear talking about something. What was that? Like I actually jumped out of my chair when I heard that because it felt so real, and I'm pretty sure they added that into the original, so that was also really cool and also scary because I was not expecting that. I was really not expecting that. I feel like if you're such a huge like psychological like horror fan, you would probably love like the Silent Hill series, and playing this game, this remake, will probably make you like that genre even more. honestly, I believe it's like really worth the price. It is $70, but with the amount of like content the game has, with the amount of like endings that you can achieve, there's just so much. And there's like even like little details that weren't even added to the original, like little flashbacks where you interact with it, you get like a flashback from the original game. I thought that was a really cool like, you know, thing that they did. And like also little Easter eggs that they did mention. Silent Hill 3 Easter eggs, which is really cool. This game just has like so much detail with the characters. Like for example, like James gets progressively more dirty when you continue with the story. He starts to get like dirt under his fingernails, like his jacket starts to get all, you know, musty. And as well with Angela, if you use like the free camera mode, you would see that her nails are like bitten because she has been through so much with like trauma and stress and like just a lot of like all the stuff that she's been going through. And just like details like that, it's just like, you know, the developers put so much heart and soul to like show how a character is like going through, especially with their like tragic backstories and stuff. I don't know, something about that is just like, I love when developers do things like that, even though it's like it might not be what a lot of people might notice. It's such a cool thing that they added something like that, even though like not as many people would realize that detail. This game has like such a crazy atmosphere. Just the way like the ambience is, it really captures how a horror game should feel. And even though the monsters in the game are not, you know, as scary, it gives that vibe and it's able to just perfectly show the game's like essence from the original. And I honestly, for like remakes, a lot of video game remakes are not able to like give that same vibe. I feel like Silent Hill 2 remake was able to really do like an amazing job with doing that. And the people that doubted bloober, bro, I'm just gonna say that this game was a huge success. When people doubt developers because it's like, oh, it's gonna be a remake, so it's not gonna be that good, which I know it has happened for a couple games in the past, but when the actual product comes out and it comes out to like looking like this masterpiece, not glazing, but you wouldn't have expected. But I'm really happy how successful this game has came out. I'm really glad to see that they're thinking of, you know, creating the other games as well for remakes. That's really cool. When people think about like video game remakes that are being made in this year, it's like a lot of players wouldn't expect the developers to add like a lot of what the OG game had. And like with Silent Hill 2 remake, they like added a lot more from what I've seen with the original. And they also kept like the two endings that I thought were pretty funny. The dog ending where James finds out that a dog has been controlling his subconscious mind this whole freaking time, and the UFO ending where he gets to meet with his OG model and they kind of have like a little funny interaction with each other. I thought that was really cool. You wouldn't have expect that from a developer team. Like I wouldn't have thought that they would keep those endings. And even the fact that they had the Silent Hill farm sign like hidden somewhere, you just had to like clip through it and there it was, the Comic Sans Silent Hill sign. Silent Hill Ranch, I should say. Silent Hill Ranch. The game offers 8 possible endings that you can achieve, some of them having you to complete the game a couple times. I think the amount of detail and the amount of dedication you would have to reach a certain ending is like really amusing to me. One ending, which is the in water ending. So for you to actually achieve this ending, you would have James not take any health items throughout the whole playthrough, meaning you can't use no syringes, you can't drink no kombucha, literally none of that. And I just love like the symbolism for that, because no matter how many times James get like beat up, it kind of just shows that James has like no care for himself. He doesn't want to keep on living. And I don't know, like I did not know that's how you get that ending. I've never played a video game that had something to do with that. That's a really cool way of like implementing some uniqueness into that. In the car where he is like finally coming to his senses, he's not blinded by the delusion that Mary's alive. In this ending, he admits what he did was wrong, and his emotions in this scene was like really well done. I think Luke Roberts did like an amazing job at like showing James' emotions for the guilt that he had carried for this long when he finally come to terms with it. This ending is like, it's really sad, it really is, because even though like he acknowledges what he done, he just couldn't live with the guilt. So he ends up just like driving off to Toluca Lake and he dies. he wanted to, I guess, be with Mary in the afterlife, but it's also like really sad because it's like he just couldn't live with the guilt of that incident. But another ending that is basically kind of similar to the In Water ending, they have like kind of like the same criteria, but in this one you would have to start a new game plus. They're very similar, as I said, they're very similar, but one is just more hopeful. And what I mean by that is in this ending, Mary forgives James for what he did, and if you put the two endings side by side, one is a lot more darker and one is a lot more lighter. Like the lighting differences show that the stillness ending has a lot more hope. It shows that Mary wants James to keep on living. Even what he did was wrong, she wanted him to keep on going with his life. With how that ended, James actually drives out to Toluca Lake, but in this time it gets cut off and he actually jumps out the car at the last second, meaning he survives, which is like so bittersweet, you know. Like I really like how they added this new ending into the remake. I think it gives a lot of more content for a lot of like Silent Hill fans. With me taking about 15 hours to complete the game, and I did manage to get the Leave ending, which is probably like one of my favorite endings, and it's also very common, so you probably got that or you probably didn't. Those 15 hours were like a roller coaster. Like I honestly got more and more stressed whenever I reached a new area, especially when I got into the Toluca prison. Don't even get me started on Toluca prison, because why is there spider mannequins jumping at me at like certain angles? Like that was like actually like terrifying. Speaking of the mannequins, I absolutely hate how these guys are hiding behind furniture where they act like I don't see them. Like they're clearly visible, but they just act like I don't see them. And like every time I attempt to like check my corners just to be precautious, I still manage to get jumped, which is like ridiculous. But I think that's what makes the game a lot more challenging, is those mannequins. I feel like I lost more health drinking my kombucha and, you know, taking a little morphine. I honestly, I can't believe that's like the health items in the game. That's also really funny. And also, the boss battles, apart from the abstract daddy that I've talked about, they honestly were not that hard. I feel like they didn't make them as hard as they were with the original boss fights. That one was ridiculous, but I feel like they definitely changed it up a bit. And that one chase scene where James and Mary are trying to run away from Pyramid Head and James goes, "Run!" The both of them are like quite literally just jogging. Like it's like they don't even mind the fact that there's a guy with a pyramid on his head with a big old knife literally about to kill them. It's just like, it's kind of reminding me of like that one Until Dawn like beta scene.
Oh shit! Run!
Okay!
Go, go, go!
Ah!
Run! Keep running!
Where?
Through that door!
It's just so funny. It's so funny. With the enemies in the game, they're able to dodge you like crazy. Cause tell me why I'm like swinging my metal pipe around and these dudes are dodging me like Manny Pacquiao. Like how do they do that? Literally how, bro? But yeah, the combat in the game is like, it wasn't hard. It was just really, you really gotta make sure you got the guy. And with Silent Hill, I don't think I've ever felt this way when playing any game or like any horror game, even though I never played that many. But with Silent Hill specifically, even though it takes such like a short amount of time to finish the game, it took me like 3 days to finish it. Not because like I'm tired, it's just like I'm kind of scared. Like I'm actually scared of playing a horror game, you know? Usually that doesn't happen to me when I play like Resident Evil or anything.
We got 10 bullets. What we gonna do with this?
Hey y'all, come look at this.
But it gets really stressful. It really does. In a good way, you know? Like when a game like does that to you, that's when you know it's doing its job. And honestly, it was so worth it. Even though it took me like 3 days to finish the game just to get me one ending, I thought my gaming experience was just, it was so fun. The voice actors, the actors did an amazing job with like everything, really. Like I haven't seen like many voice actors be able to like depict that emotion, especially with like James. He did like such a great job. And as we are on the topic about James, let me tell you, bro has gotten like the best glow up I've ever seen in horror video game history, aside from Leon. But he looks great. Robert, thank you for your work. Thank you for bringing this man to life, because never in my life have I ever wanted a miserable looking man in my life. Like, he looks so good. Like, he actually looks amazing. Like, and of course I wouldn't consider it game of the year if the game didn't have an amazing soundtrack, because tell me why. Laura's soundtrack, banger, bro, absolute banger. Like, I could actually listen to the Silent Hill 2 soundtrack, especially the OG, but the composers did their thing. Like, I am a huge like diehard fan when it comes to like gaming soundtracks, and Silent Hill 2 definitely in my top 5 whenever I want to listen to it. Now, there are some things that I would not consider the game to be, you know, completely perfect, because a game has its own flaws, of course. But when I play this game on my first playthrough, it made me realize how much I actually love playing like psychological like horror games. And I would be 100% willing to play the first and the third one when, you know, I get the chance to. Genuinely think Bloober and Konami really did their thing. Like, the remakes of like these type of games and how they were able to, you know, give that same nostalgic feel, I feel like a lot of players also felt that way. And honestly, it just makes you want to learn more about Silent Hill. Like, a lot of the theories I've watched, a lot of the lore I've read on, you know, wiki, it's like really fascinating. And I'm so glad a game like this was able to get a remake. With the amount of hate it got before it even got released, I'm just glad that it is one of the most successful games of this year, and I cannot wait to see what the Bloober team has in store for us, because I know they got a lot of big things coming. And if this game does win game of the year, I will not be surprised, because there's just so many things they added, and I'm probably going to learn more things about the Silent Hill 2 remake, even like a couple months or years go by that I just missed like little nitty-gritty details of. If you ever get the chance, play Silent Hill 2, play the original, play Silent Hill 2 remake if you can. I know it's like a pretty expensive game, $70, but I honestly think it's worth it. Even for its price, I do think it's worth it. So check it out. Feel the experience that a lot of people are feeling, and like just enjoy. Literally just be immersed into this game, because it is actually really life-changing. I feel like I've learned something after playing this game, and I feel like it also changed me as a person after playing it. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like that did happen. But I really love this remake, and I hope you will too if you ever want to play it. So thank you guys for watching this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.
Picking that pedal. How could that little young bitch from the ghetto hit the jackpot? Ain't no 50 cash pot. Keep jocking.